Welcome back, everybody. This is Trekyards. He's Commander Cocky.
He's Captain Foley.
And we have a refit to talk about. It's the refit. Well, yeah, I was going to say, it's not actually the refit. It's
like your scratch-built version of the Enterprise refit design. Anyway, Stuart, you're so excited you make these big sweeping statements. Yes, Stuart, do you remember that thing we just saw? Episode 6?
I do. The Bounty. Yes, Picard, Season 3.
Glorious museum shot. My goodness. I mean, literally, as the fans, you're thinking, well, they're going to talk about every ship. And you're pretty much right. Today, the refit is on the chopping block. Stuart, here it is. Here's the shot we got. We got a couple. We'll look at them all today. Thoughts? Because you know the ship quite well.
I was super impressed. And I didn't expect all these shots we got of it. There's quite a few. I'm sure there's one they're focused on the view screen, but there's also ones like behind the Titan. And so we got a lot of different angles of it, and it just looked so good. I would say it's pretty much darn near perfect, but that's where we come in, Trekyards, and we try to look at it and make sure that it is perfect.
It's not many people can do comparison renders to match angles, etc. Kind of a special thing. Did you get the feels, though, Stuart?
Oh,
the feel?
Yes, I did 100%. That's Kirk's ship, Jack talking about that. It was the same moment where he said, I was a ship guy before I knew who my dad was. I love that.
Now he's your favorite character.
And now you better subscribe to Trekyards. He was watching Trekyards growing up, Jack. That's what he was doing. I know. We still exist in the future.
He didn't get the same beauty shot as the TOS Enterprise, which I kind of thought, given Terry's love of the refit, I thought we were going to get a very classic view.
And we might still.
I think we will.
We're probably going to go back to the museum at some point. So
I think it will. Proportion-wise, it looks fantastic. And this is a ship that you really have to put the details in on. It's always kind of funny seeing things turned on, like the impulse engines. It's like they're not going anywhere. It shouldn't necessarily be seeing red. But also, things are boring without the colours of the glowies. So I'm absolutely fine with that. Less self-illumination by an absolute mile. But that does take a long time to do the light rig. That's a giant time suck, especially if you want to match it. And as you can imagine, fans would notice if they got it wrong, because obviously it's their job to get it right. So without that, it's more plain than it could be.
Yeah, I never noticed the self-illumination issue, but you're right. Like the rear of the registries on the rear of the nacelle should be lit up. There should be spotlights on the struts.
Back kind of disappears a bit.
Yeah.
Which it literally shouldn't because of the self-illumination, but it feels correct. And to see it, we haven't seen a refit since I guess Geordie's silver model with wrong nacelle hinges, because they deliberately
Battle Wolf 359. We saw the secondary hull of one.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Because as you know, Stuart, the rule was that if they'd shown an Enterprise refit in TNG, audiences would have said, that's the Enterprise. So and because audiences are stupid, therefore producers said no. That's why they never appeared. So this is possibly the first time we've seen an Enterprise refit since like 1995-6 with Star Trek 6. So it's been a very long time. I do stuff with them regularly-ish, so I know them well. But wow. Speaking of wow, though, here is the full plethora of shots. We do get some more angles, and certainly that big bold deflector makes me all the happy from other views. What do you think?
Again, I was surprised to see as many shots as we did of it. I did expect more of a close-up, although I was really surprised the close-up they did give us on the view screen was that shot, because it's a weird angle to choose, but I really like it because it shows off like the blue of the impulse dome, the impulse crystal and stuff like that.
It's also interesting to see it rendered in the more modern lighting engines, because I've done it in the classic lighting engines, and then before that it was done as a miniature. So and even in TMP Director's Cut, the few shots it was rendered in a newer version of Lightwave with Octane, so that's a similar but different, and they were also trying to match miniature lighting. So, because if you thought it looked different, then they've made a mistake. So this is actually lighting it new for the first time since the 90s. I'm assuming this is that model because, they made that for a movie the same year. You'd think, but we're not close enough to appreciate the small details because that one's very, very well detailed. So I'm assuming it's the same model with an A added. I don't know. Hopefully we'll see more of it and learn. But of course, Stuart, we've got some comparisons now, of course. The caveat being mine is fully light-rigged. This is the original Director's Cut version from the early 2000s refits. This is a Canon refit model, which has now been decanonized if you go by the 4K version, but for a while it was the only Canon version of the CG version of the Enterprise. So their accuracy is the caveat of that was made by them. And they did get the physical miniature sent to their studio to build a replica, but also they were using only so much power in rendering machines. They couldn't add all the detail, the necessarily the finest of details. But again, they had the physical miniature next door, so it should be as accurate as can be, but don't necessarily quote them on that. Thoughts?
We pointed out that yes, the model you have is the 1701. That is the actual refit, not the A, which is a new build. So were there differences between the two? I never really thought so.
Because it was the same miniature painted differently.
I know, just with an A added. And I understand. Anyway, all that being said, yeah, this one has the self-illumination on it, which is quite poppy. And I kind of miss it, but they do have a bright light or sun, obviously, near this station. So I would say it's washing out the self-illumination, but it's not, because you'd be able to see it on the rear end of the cells, like I said. So it is something that I'm missing from the shot, actually. No, I want self-illumination. Light up those
It
inner
takes a
chiller
while
grills.
to set that up, okay?
Light up the inner chiller grills as well. I want to see those lit up.
Yeah. It's tricky because every glow has a reason to be there, but also, so why should the warp engine be on? But I'm sure there's a way of, well, I mean, either you keep it warp capable in case you need it, or you remove it and put in LED lights instead. You just put in big bulbs, but then it's not warp capable. Now, what's very interesting to me is that, first of all, the fact the back module has a very, very bright giant room that is, the observation. It's a big. I can't almost call it exactly, but it's a nice, chill, relaxed area. Real bright. I guess there's some sort of event happening in there which needs everything at maximum lumens because it entirely blows out, the windows. But I'm so fascinated by that the impulse engines are radically different. I would say, obviously radically in the sense that if you're comparing Canon to Canon and they're different, every small difference is now radical. But the way they connect to the source is different. The size looks to be different. The sizeness of the dome looks different. The way the thing in front of it connects looks different. It all looks and feels different to me. Again, the caveat of this being an old CG model, but they had the thing right there to baseline on. So that's just interesting. It did feel quite different to me.
Yeah, I actually noticed the conference windows lit up pretty well the first time I saw this, and I had no problem with it. I thought they were more lit up, really, when you see the ship, but it's only if somebody's in there. They are having a party. That's where you beam on board and the VIP treatment and little plaques about the ship's history or something in there that you can look at. Maybe, I don't know. A lot of things are caveated because it is a museum display, so. You can also assume that maybe the impulse deck got upgraded before Star Trek 6, so it's a little bit different, things like that. If there are slight differences to the ship, because it was in service for a while.
Yeah, but then it's just a case of, do you take the canon of what it looked like in Star Trek 6, which was the same miniature, they didn't change the impulse deck, or you say they probably must have changed it, even if it's not in Star Trek 6.
Exactly.
Right. So you're decanonizing Star Trek 6.
You fill in no. It went through some damage in Star Trek 6. Maybe they repaired it before they brought it to the museum.
It's just interesting.
The impulse deck is different.
It's just interesting.
I'm just saying, there's explanations for why things are different.
Yeah. And I think we're just pointing out a difference. The registry on the back of the hull is also a little bit different sized. By little, I mean quite a lot. Interesting, the panel lines are far more distinct in the director's cut version, but the Aztecing is far more, I would say, popping on the other one. Very interesting. What do you like? The more clean panel line or the less clean, less panel line?
What? Well, yeah. See, Star Trek 6, the ship appeared more gray because they kept having to tone down the pearlescence of it. So by then it was quite gray looking. I kind of like the more motion picture-y white pearlescent look. So, I mean, the lower one here is, I think, more what I'm vibing. But
I think instinctively the bottom one looks like motion picture, top one looks like 6. You're right. It's very subtle, but yeah, that's what my brain says as well. But the next shot, though, the front-ish with a deflector.
Good, they got all the lights right on this one. It's not like the Constitution class, or the TOS Connie, which had different lights, but again, later model Constitution class probably. This is literally the ship. So, yeah, the lights are quite bright. And that's one thing, even in physical model building, if you put the lights inside too bright, it ruins the scale of the model. You have to tone them down. It almost seems here like it's blown out a little bit for the museum one. But that's fine. It's on display. It's supposed to look pretty from the outside. So go inside, you can't see anything.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the 3 different approaches that this ship has seen. Physical miniature, this CGI old school lighting, and new style lighting with the new render engines. The biggest difference is that actual light sources actually emit light and cause realistic light fall off. And so the artist might have said, well, we need to get the spotlight look, but having the things that in theory generate the spotlight at 20% to look like it should look like don't make any lights. Because of course they never could. It was being lit off screen. They can't light the ship in that way. It's all fiction. But now they're using real lights in a real way. They don't want to fake that. So they've blown them up to being blown out, which looks obnoxious, I think, just to get some level of registry thing.
The thing is, with the physical model, you can have a registry light, spotlight, and still have those things turned down because the spotlight light, registry light isn't coming from that bright one up top.
That's true. It feels like it is, though.
It does, yes, but
maybe that's what they thought, and therefore it's blown up more.
I don't know. I really don't have a complaint about it. It's just,
but it's
I'm
odd
just
in
happy to see
comparison
this thing.
because they shouldn't stand out that much.
Yeah.
You know, especially as windows, etc. But the next shot though, really classic angle of the ship.
Beautiful angle. The nacelles I noticed right behind the front chiller grill, or the front Bizarre collector, if you want to call it that, is a darker gray around them. I noticed that on the other image as well. I don't know why they decided to do that. Again, it looks like an upgrade of some kind. Kirk, okay, to be fair, Kirk at the end of Star Trek VI did say, soon this ship will be in care of another crew. And, to her and to them and their whatever. He had that speech that soon this ship would be in the care of another crew. So maybe he did upgrade it. It was flown by somebody else for a few years.
He also says that they ordered to be decommissioned.
Yes, decommissioned from their command and then given to a new crew.
Wouldn't you say refitted? Because decommissioned does not imply.
I'm trying to play devil's advocate.
No, that's interesting.
You haven't noticed.
That's interesting, but then you wouldn't. But the Enterprise B launches in 6 months later, so you wouldn't want the A floating around and the B.
Maybe their plans were to give it a new crew, and they just never did. So there you go.
Yeah. Interesting dialogue.
Yeah. But other than that, it looks fantastic.
And the only thing I notice is that obviously in the CG one, my CG one, is that the difference, the greenness in the secondary hull pops, and you can see where the lines are in the other version, but they're clearly not purple, green. Sorry, they're grey, because you can see the green of the planet. So there's clearly you can see what green should look like. There ain't no green in that secondary hull, so they've chosen not to reflect that.
Duck egg blue is what it's called, the paint color. So
it's just sort of a dark grey.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, it definitely stands out for sure. I like that. One's the motion picture, one's Star Trek 6. It just feels like that.
Is the deflector housing straighter on the Picard one?
It looks like it. Yeah, it does look like it slightly.
Yeah, slightly. It doesn't. I mean, we're looking at pixels, but it looks like it just comes out versus that beautiful 7 gentle gradients in of the. Very interesting. Yeah, there you go, guys. Here is the Enterprise, literally the Enterprise refit A. That's in Star Trek Picard. It's back, baby. Thank you, Picard, for giving us one of the biggest legacies of Trek for the first time in a very, very long time.
Comment down below, guys, what you thought about this. Were you happy to see it? As happy as we are? And what do you think of the comparisons here? If you notice any differences that we didn't, please point them out in the comment section. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell icon so you don't miss any breakdown videos like this that we do, or any lives where you can join us and be part of the community and the conversation.
And support what we do here if you can. I would like to for all these great free videos for you guys. Support us via Patreon. It's monthly. Join the channel on YouTube. The join button. Look for it, find it, join if you can. Or one time, trekyards@hotmail.com is the PayPal or a super thanks on any video or any ship. So if you love a ship we've done, go over, put in 5, super thanks us for it, or super chat any of our lives that we do on any ship topic, anything. We do pretty broad stuff here. So thank you in advance, and just keep joining in the conversation, comment down below, etc. It all does make literally a difference. So thank you in advance.
That's right. So until next time, he is Commander Cockings.
He's Captain Foley.
And I'll see you in the future.
Mm.